The psychology of self-sabotage. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because, without realizing it, they sabotage themselves. They delay the opportunity. They overthink the decision. They quit right before progress becomes visible. And when it's over, they don't say, "I was afraid." They say, "I wasn't ready. I didn't have time. It just wasn't meant for me." But beneath all of that is self-sabotage. 1. Self-sabotage is not laziness. Let's clear something up. Self-sabotage is not laziness. It's not a lack of discipline. It's not low intelligence. Self-sabotage is a protective strategy created by the brain. Your mind is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe, and growth feels unsafe. 2. The brain chooses familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. Here's a psychological truth that explains everything. The brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. Even if your current life is frustrating, even if you feel stuck, bored, or unfulfilled, it's predictable. Change introduces uncertainty. Uncertainty triggers fear. Fear activates avoidance. So the brain creates excuses. Do it tomorrow. Wait until you're ready. You need more information. Now is not the right time. And you listen because it sounds logical. 3. Why fear disguises itself as logic. Fear rarely announces itself as fear. It shows up as overthinking, perfectionism, procrastination, self-doubt. You tell yourself you're being careful, you're being realistic, you're being responsible, but psychologically, you're avoiding emotional discomfort. Self-sabotage is fear wearing a suit. 4. The identity trap. One of the deepest forms of self-sabotage is identity attachment. You are not afraid of failure. You are afraid of who you would be if you succeeded, because success demands new habits, new boundaries, new responsibilities, new expectations, and that threatens your current identity. If you've always been the struggling one, the underdog, the one with potential, success removes the excuse, so the mind resists. 5. The comfort zone is a psychological cage. The comfort zone isn't comfortable, it's familiar, and familiarity gives the brain control. Even pain inside the comfort zone feels manageable. Pain outside it feels chaotic, so the brain keeps you small, not to punish you, but to protect you. That's why people sabotage opportunities they prayed for. 6. Self-sabotage and perfectionism. Perfectionism is not high standards, it's fear of exposure. If I don't start, I can't fail. If I don't finish, I can't be judged. If it's not perfect, it's not me. Perfectionism delays action, and delayed action kills momentum. Progress requires imperfection. Growth requires embarrassment. The brain hates both. 7. Why we wait for motivation. Motivation feels safe. Discipline feels threatening. Motivation gives the illusion of readiness. Discipline forces action before confidence arrives. Self-sabotage waits. Growth moves. That's the difference. 8. Childhood conditioning and self-sabotage. Many self-sabotaging patterns were learned early. If you grew up being criticized for mistakes, only rewarded for perfection, taught to avoid risk, punished for standing out, your brain learned playing safe equals survival. So when you try to grow, your nervous system reacts as if danger is present. This isn't weakness, it's conditioning. 9. The dopamine loop of avoidance. Avoidance gives short-term relief. Every time you avoid discomfort, your brain releases dopamine. Temporary comfort, long-term regret. Self-sabotage becomes addictive. You escape anxiety now and create a bigger one later. 10. Why self-awareness alone is not enough. Knowing you self-sabotage doesn't stop it, because awareness doesn't override the nervous system. Change happens when the body learns, this discomfort won't kill me. That only happens through action. 11. The fear of being seen. Many people sabotage success because success means visibility. Visibility means judgment, criticism, responsibility. Staying small feels invisible. Invisibility feels safe. But safety without growth becomes suffocation. 12. Self-sabotage is emotional, not logical. You don't sabotage because you're stupid. You sabotage because emotions override logic. This is why willpower fails. You don't need more motivation, you need emotional regulation. 13. The cost of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage doesn't destroy you loudly, it erodes you quietly. It shows up as missed chances, untapped potential, lingering regret, chronic self-doubt. The most painful thing isn't failure, it's wondering who you could have been. 14. How to stop self-sabotaging. Psychological approach. You don't fight self-sabotage, you outgrow it. Here's how. Act before confidence appears. Make decisions based on values, not feelings. Reduce emotional resistance through small actions. Replace ready with willing. Let discomfort become familiar. Your brain adapts to what you repeatedly survive. 15. Discipline is self-trust in action. Discipline isn't punishment, it's teaching your brain, I can rely on myself. Every small action builds trust. Trust dissolves fear. Fear loses control. 16. The identity shift. You stop sabotaging when you stop seeing growth as a threat. When you say, I am someone who shows up, even when afraid. The mind follows the identity. 17. You will never feel ready. Readiness is a myth. Growth begins when you move without certainty. Confidence is not the cause of action, it's the result. 18. The final psychological truth. Your mind will always try to keep you safe, but you are not here to be safe. You are here to become, and becoming requires risk. 19. Final message. Self-sabotage isn't your enemy, it's a signal that you're close to change. Don't listen to the voice that says, wait, listen to the one that says, move anyway. Closing line, powerful end. The moment you stop protecting the life you know is the moment you make room for the life you want. 20. Why your mind attacks you when you get close to change. Have you noticed something strange? The closer you get to real change, the louder your inner resistance becomes. Suddenly, old habits return, doubt intensifies, motivation disappears. You feel tired for no clear reason. This is not coincidence. Psychologically, the brain increases resistance when identity is threatened. Change feels like death to the ego. Not physical death, but the death of the person you've always been, and the mind will fight to preserve itself. 21. The inner critic is a defense mechanism. That harsh voice in your head, the one that says, you're not good enough, you'll mess this up, who do you think you are? That voice is not truth. It's a defense mechanism. If it convinces you to stop, you never have to face rejection. You never have to face judgment. You never have to face failure. The inner critic doesn't hate you. It's trying to protect you in the most destructive way possible. 22. Why success feels unsafe to some people. This part is uncomfortable, but important. For some people, struggle is familiar. Chaos feels normal. Stability feels strange. So when success appears, it creates anxiety instead of peace. Because success means people expect more from you. You can't hide behind excuses. You must maintain what you build. Self-sabotage restores familiarity. This is why people destroy good opportunities right after they get them. 23. Self-sabotage and the fear of responsibility. Failure feels painful, but responsibility feels heavy. When you succeed, you can no longer say, "I didn't have a chance." Now it's on you, and that pressure scares the mind. So it creates problems not because it wants you to fail, but because it wants to escape responsibility. 24. Emotional memory runs your life. Your brain remembers emotional pain more than logical lessons. If you were embarrassed once, rejected once, humiliated once, your nervous system remembers. And when a similar situation appears, your body reacts before you think. This is why you sabotage even when you know better. Healing self-sabotage requires retraining emotional memory, not arguing with thoughts. 25. Why willpower always loses. Willpower is a conscious effort. Self-sabotage is subconscious. Subconscious always wins. You don't beat self-sabotage by forcing motivation. You beat it by reducing emotional friction. Make actions smaller. Make failure safer. Make consistency easier than avoidance. 26. The myth of one day I'll change. Self-sabotage loves the future. One day I'll start, one day I'll be disciplined, one day I'll become confident. But the brain uses the future to avoid the present. Growth only happens in now, not when conditions are perfect, not when fear disappears, but when action begins despite discomfort. 27. The role of shame in self-sabotage. Shame fuels self-sabotage. Shame says, if they really see you, they'll leave. If you fail, it confirms what you fear. So the mind chooses self-destruction instead of exposure, because controlled pain feels safer than unpredictable pain. 28. Why people quit right before the breakthrough. This is one of the most painful patterns. Right before progress becomes visible, resistance peaks. Why? Because you're about to lose the old story. The story where you were trying, the story where potential mattered more than results. Success ends the narrative, and that scares the ego. So people quit not at the beginning, but right before transformation. 29. How repetition rewires the brain. The brain changes through repetition, not inspiration. Every time you act despite fear, you teach your nervous system, "I survived." And survival builds confidence. Confidence builds identity. Identity dissolves self-sabotage. You don't think your way into change. You behave your way into it. 30. Becoming the person who doesn't quit. The goal is not to eliminate fear. That's impossible. The goal is to become someone who acts with fear present, someone who doesn't wait, someone who doesn't negotiate with discomfort, someone who moves before certainty arrives. This identity changes everything. 31. The quiet power of showing up. Showing up doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't feel heroic. It often feels boring, uncomfortable, and lonely. But psychologically, showing up builds self-respect, and self-respect is stronger than motivation. 32. Final wake-up call. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not lazy. You are protecting a version of yourself that no longer fits your future. Self-sabotage is not your enemy. It's the sign that you are standing at the edge of change. Final closing, strong ending line. The day you stop running from discomfort is the day your life stops running from you. 33. Why your brain confuses peace with boredom. Here's something most people don't realize. When your life becomes calm, when chaos disappears, when stability arrives, your brain can interpret peace as danger. Why? Because if you grew up in stress, pressure, or unpredictability, your nervous system adapted to chaos. So when things finally go well, your mind feels restless, bored, uneasy, and unconsciously you create problems just to feel normal again. This is self-sabotage rooted in familiarity. 34. The addiction to struggle. Some people don't fear failure, they fear losing the struggle. Struggle gives identity, struggle gives excuses, struggle gives meaning. Without it, you are left alone with yourself, and that silence is terrifying. So the mind creates obstacles, drama, distractions, because pain feels better than emptiness. 35. Self-sabotage and the fear of stillness. Stillness forces reflection. Reflection exposes unprocessed emotions, regrets, avoided decisions. So instead of slowing down, people stay busy. Busy sabotaging, busy procrastinating, busy distracting. Motion becomes avoidance, and avoidance becomes a lifestyle. 36. Why smart people self-sabotage more. High intelligence does not protect you from self-sabotage. In fact, it can make it worse, because smart minds can rationalize anything. They overanalyze, they predict every outcome, they mentally fail before trying. Overthinking becomes a sophisticated escape. Action feels crude, messy, risky. So intelligent people stay stuck, not because they don't know enough, but because they think too much. 37. Emotional safety versus psychological growth. Your brain wants emotional safety. Your soul wants expansion. These two often conflict. Growth requires discomfort. Safety requires familiarity. Self-sabotage happens when safety wins. Every time you choose comfort over courage, the brain reinforces avoidance. Every time you choose discomfort, the brain learns adaptability. You are training something, whether you realize it or not. 38. The fear of outgrowing people. This is rarely talked about. Sometimes you sabotage growth because success changes relationships. If you grow, some people won't understand you. Some will feel threatened. Some will drift away. And the mind says, stay the same, it's safer. So you shrink yourself to preserve belonging. But belonging that requires self-betrayal eventually turns into resentment. 40. Self-sabotage is often loyalty to the past. You don't sabotage because you hate yourself. You sabotage because you are loyal to who you used to be, to old coping mechanisms, old survival strategies, old identities. But survival is not the same as living, and the strategies that once protected you can now imprison you. 41. The moment you stop trusting feelings. Feelings are information, not commands. Self-sabotage happens when feelings control decisions. Discipline happens when values control behavior. You don't need to feel confident to act. You need to decide who you are. The brain will follow. 42. Becoming comfortable with discomfort. The goal is not to eliminate discomfort. The goal is to normalize it. Discomfort becomes dangerous only when it feels unfamiliar. When you expose yourself repeatedly, the nervous system adapts. What once felt terrifying becomes manageable. This is how self-sabotage loses power. 43. The silent shift that changes everything. One day, without realizing it, you stop arguing with your mind. You stop convincing, stop negotiating, stop waiting. You act quietly, not because fear disappeared, but because you got tired of listening to it. That's when identity shifts. 44. You are not late, you are early in awareness. Many people never realize they are sabotaging themselves. You did. That awareness is not a curse, it's the beginning of freedom. Self-sabotage ends not when fear vanishes, but when awareness grows stronger than avoidance. 45. The final psychological integration. Your mind wants safety. Your future requires courage. You don't need to destroy the mind. You need to lead it, with action, with repetition, with self-respect. Final absolute ending, strongest close. Self-sabotage ends the moment you stop asking how to feel ready and start acting like the person you're trying to become.